Is Crimson Desert the most ambitious RPG to launch in 2026? Quite honestly, if you'd asked me last year, I'd probably say no. Especially after coming away from a quick hands-on preview at PAX East, not super impressed. Like, kind of really unimpressed. And that might be in part because of what they chose to show us at PAX East. Or more specifically, what they chose not to show us, which might have been most of the really cool and interesting stuff. The stuff that really might actually set this game apart. They kind of threw us straight into a boss fight, a frenetic boss fight, really not letting us see some of the things that might end up actually being some of the coolest parts of Crimson Desert. Some of the open world, some of the mounts, some of the parts that make the game feel even more ambitious. And it also may have been the fact that, well, the boss that I fought against might have been the most boring one. It was a dude. It was just a big dude. Not the giant turtles, the dragons or goblins, or even the mechs we've seen in the trailers. And I sure as hell didn't get to fly around or go horse drifting. Yes, horse drifting. That's in this game. But with Crimson Desert just about a month away, launching on March 19th, 2026 on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series XS, they have been pummeling everyone who will dare listen or watch with feature after feature and gorgeous visuals. And well, shit, I'm falling for it, I guess. I'm getting kind of impressed and kind of excited. There's just one concern I still have, and it has nothing to do with gameplay. But we'll wait until the end of this video to go into that because it's a YouTube thing, it's for engagement. I'm not gonna lie. And yes, I would still say this is not the most ambitious RPG of the year, but that reason why has changed. It's not a lack of them trying because they're putting a whole lot into this game, like seemingly pretty much everything. It's because there's another fairy tale game that went and made 1,000 handcrafted NPCs that you can marry and divorce. And that's pretty hard to match. What I've seen shown off of Crimson Desert over the last few months has shown me a lot more about the RPG than I expected. From dragon flying to expansive battle set pieces, with so many damn enemies on screen, they look like they've been yanked out of a Dynasty Warriors games. Or perhaps more appropriately, an MMORPG, given that Crimson Desert was originally planned as a prequel to Pearl Abyss's other game, the massive and gorgeous MMO Black Desert Online. An MMO that is known for its action combat, its beautiful music, its grindiness, and less affectionately, being quite pay to win. Crimson Desert, on the other hand, is a single-player RPG that's been in development for quite some time. Initially seemingly announced as an MMO, that was confusing because why would you make a game that competes with your other game, then as a multiplayer game, and now solidly as a single-player RPG where you take on the role of a set protagonist, no character creator here. A set protagonist that is named Cliff McDuff, a bit of a stand-in, generic-looking, handsome dude with a cut jaw and silky black flowing hair. And it's your job with all the classic handsome to save the divided continent of Pywell, as the land has fallen into various power struggles, with its King Demonis, unifier of lands, having fallen into a coma. And seemingly from the trailers, there's some stuff behind why that king has fallen into a coma. Through the story, you will gain allies, leading a group of mercenaries, the Greymanes, to keep these opportunistic little shits in check. Everyone wants power, after all while trying not to die. And with the vast different types of enemies we've seen in the game, that's probably going to be kind of difficult. Like, there's lots of things trying to murder you. There was a surprising and exciting revelation in the recent overview video though. Cliff isn't going to be the only playable character. While it certainly does sound like he is by far the main character, later in the game 2 new characters will become playable. They weren't named, but one of them is a big ass giant dude with an axe and a machine gun attached to their wrist, and the other was a phase skill equipped woman wielding a giant claymore and pistols that looks positively badass. Though it sounds like they're primarily for quests outside the the main quest, as well as being able to explore the world, the open world. The game will feature action combat. We've seen everything from morphing and leaping about with your cloak that has feathers to flying on a freaking dragon. Oh, and flying in mecha robots that shoot missiles. Quite honestly, I'm not entirely sure how this world is all going to coalesce, but I think that's part of what's making me curious as well as a bit nervous. If it can pull off some of that Final Fantasy magic or Dungeons and Dragons magic of bringing together these disparate pieces, it might be fantastic. Otherwise, it might end up feeling tacky and gimmicky, like they just tried to shove as much shit into one game as possible. Let's hope for the former, because we could always use cool new RPGs coming out from different studios. In many ways, Crimson Desert is kind of this like great unknown for 2026 when it comes to RPGs, because it's actually only really the second big game from Pearl Abyss following their 2014 Black Desert Online MMORPG. Well, I mean, they did have a mobile version of Black Desert Online, but we're talking about big games from this developer. This is their first major single player title, and it's going to be very interesting to see, because I feel like this is one of those games where it's occupying this space, this kind of Dragon's Dogma 2 space where it could be amazing, or it could be absolute like kind of dog shit if the things don't land, if the performance isn't there, if it's just not working. And I'm really interested to see where it falls. It will have a massive expansive open world, reportedly twice the size of Skyrim's and larger than Red Dead Redemption for all you size queens out there. One that you'll be able to traverse around meeting mercenaries as you take on massive bosses, Dragon's Dogma 2 style. And Pearl Abyss has promised decisions will impact the world and overall story of Crimson Desert. Here's hoping that you actually have significant impact on the story and not just like slight decision making. It's taking some notes from other games environmentally too, like using water to transmit electricity and shock enemies who are standing in it or transforming into blocks of ice when struck with freezing spells. And that's kind of the stuff I'll honestly never tire of. I mean, I freaking love this stuff in Avowed and Eternal Strands. Although I do want to point out here that from the stuff that we've seen from some of these hands-on previews of this game, it doesn't sound like these are going to be like integral parts. You're not going to need to be using these types of things specifically to kill bosses or to solve puzzles. These sound like these are going to be nice to have. They don't sound like you have to use them, which I think is going to be a concern for a lot of people going into this game is, are these things that are being added into the game added thoughtfully, or are they just added because they could? Like, this is cool, let's put it in, or this is cool, let's put it in, and this is why we're putting it in. Crimson Desert has come across so far like a game that is going to be huge on spectacle. How can it not? It has literal giant mechs, dragons, and dinosaurs. Yes, dinosaurs that you can ride. And huge sieges. I mean, honestly, the huge sieges part, that's kind of the thing that I'm like most excited about, because I love that shit. I loved playing Dynasty Warriors growing up. But my biggest concerns right now all lie in its storytelling. And while I did enjoy some of the parts of the storytelling in the overview, like when the little 15-minute video we got, there's some heart in there that gives me some hope. There's also some stuff in some of the previews that we've seen, the hands-on previews, that are giving me some pause, as well as some stuff that I have seen in previous Pearl Abyss games that gives me even more pause, because I played Black Desert Online, and in playing Black Desert Online, the gameplay was fun. I enjoyed the gameplay. The story, the narrative, was pretty thin. It didn't have a whole lot to offer. There was some fun stuff here and there, but I didn't care about anything. And granted, that is an MMORPG, and most MMORPGs don't have a whole lot of heart to their narratives, but still, it's something to consider.
Gian has fallen, and with the great leader's death, our land, Payloon, once unified, has been plunged into chaos. And now, a bloody battle unfolds. No mercy. Between the Greymanes, who fight to uphold his will, and the Black Bear forces that seek to set it aflame.
On this front, I wanted to take a quote from one of the hands-on previews talking specifically about this section from IGN. Here's what they had to say. Quote, Crimson Desert has a lot going for it. The combat is exciting, the world is diverse and beautiful, and its systems are impressively reactive. But I can't help but feel wary. Most of the missions I've played so far at several different events have been castle sieges, often ending in admittedly impressive boss battles, but they've all been relatively thin narrative-wise. Aside from an interesting detour to a mad inventor's lair where he'd built a golden mechanical dragon, as you do, I've seen little of what's going to be the thrust story-wise in Crimson Desert as a whole to get me hyped in that regard, nor met any characters that I feel will get close to my heart. And I can't help but worry that there's a reason we've seen so little of this world's story. This is honestly what worries me in the same way it worried me about Dragon's Dogma 2. Because I didn't feel the connection with Dragon's Dogma 2. There was a lot of stuff I really enjoyed in Dragon's Dogma 2. I loved a lot of the combat, but that combat can get a little old when it's the same enemies over and over again. And I don't know that that's gonna happen in Crimson Desert, and it could be there's a whole lot more enemy variety in Crimson Desert. So far, it seems like there is, but you need story and you need characters to kind of pull you along, especially because this game doesn't seem like it's gonna be short or small. It seems massive. It seems like it's gonna take you across many different regions and have you doing a lot of different things. This does not seem like a 20 or 30 hour game. So if you don't have a story that grabs you, or characters even, specifically characters that you care about. Because, I mean, in the overview, we see some characters that don't make it already. So having characters you care about is really gonna be important here. So I really hope that this game has a compelling story, or at the very least, characters we care about, because I think that's gonna be important. And my concern seems to match those of what the preview concern was. That so far, they're not putting the story forward. And that could entirely be because they're trying to, be spoiler free. But it doesn't seem like, it seems like it's not something they're trying to highlight. Instead, they're highlighting things like those boss battles, all of the spectacle stuff. And that's cool and that's fun, but I wish we had some better idea of where the heart of that story lied in this game before we went into the game. Why should I care so much about Pywell? Why should I care about Cliff? Why should I care? Those kind of things, I expect Crimson Desert to be a whole lot of fun. It's got lots of systems, the world is vast, and yet with that vastness, it doesn't seem to feel empty. At least what we've seen so far. I'm impressed by how many enemies they've managed to push onto your screens. In that way, it does feel like Black Desert Online, another open world game that was full of many systems and many things to do and interesting gameplay. But will these disparate, ambitious pieces come together into a satisfying stew? Hands-on previews thus far paint a picture of a game and setting that seems to work, blending together fantasy elements with some of the more advanced steampunk and sci-fi elements that make sense, and that at least has me intrigued to see. Well, that and just getting my hands on some of this gravity-defying fun this game seems to have to offer. But what do you think? What are your concerns or what are your excitements of this game? And will you be trying it out or will you be waiting on the sidelines for this game to kind of wait for some of the reviews to come in before you jump in? This is a new game, a new single player game from the studio, so they haven't really done this before. It's kind of new for them. So I'm curious to see what you think. Let me know down in the comment section below. My name is Edward Flynn. Thank you so much for watching.